Why is TSM not first on our list, guys?
Well, I could tell you a million reasons why.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Eye of the Watchers podcast, where we give you all the support and insight you need to get hyped about League of Legends esports. And today we're talking about a spicy topic. We are talking power rankings for the NA LCS. So with me, first, my name is Sam, aka Just Casual. I don't think I did that at the beginning. With me, I have Manny, aka Manster415.
What's up, everyone?
And we have another guy, Alex, aka Minty Rhino.
What's up? What's going on, guys?
Hey, I'm doing well. I'm really excited for this. So should we just jump into it?
Let's go for it.
All right. So number one, before I do that, this is how we put together our power rankings. We put our own list together of 1 through 10, and then we average it out. So we're going to have some disagreements here, but the collective group power ranking is starting with number 1. We have Team Liquid. Team Liquid. I think we all agreed on Team Liquid. Why do we have Team Liquid at number 1?
I think they did pretty well this starting off the season. They had the shortest game, I think, in all of regions. So
yeah, with a lot of games going long too, right? So
yeah, with like games averaging at least like in Korea it was like around 43 minutes and then some, and then like in NA it was like around 36 minutes.
Isn't that a little skewed with the SKT game though? Being like 93 minutes.
Yeah, it's a little skewed. Well, I think it added like 10 minutes because there was another one 160 and it's like, okay, well.
Yeah, I got Tielka's double lift put on a clinic for TSM on how to play AD carry.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I think for the most part, Team Liquid, like everyone has said, they have a really strong roster that has already pre-built synergy in it. And pretty much we have them number 1. And they're probably the most boring team to talk about right now because they are just by far ahead of everyone else. So let's just jump right into number 2. We have Cloud9. Alex, why do we like Cloud9? Why are they all of our number 2s?
I don't know. Did you watch Jensen at all? Because I think Cloud9 just feels like the most all-around team right now. It feels they feel really solid. They feel like they're really getting comfortable with each other. And there's some like hiccups, especially with like, Sven dying a lot or whatever else for the first 2 games and have the most deaths at the end of week 1. But I think like Licorice is going to be great. Just watching him like deal with 1v3s, although he didn't like always come out on top. So watching him deal with 1v3s, it was satisfying. I think that team has a lot of potential, and I think the core, like with mid, bot, and support synergy is just gonna. I feel like Sven and Licorice are just gonna fit in really well with that team.
Cool. Manny, are you concerned at all about Licorice? He is a new top laner.
I do. I still have my concerns when he plays some of the higher, like rated top laners, but I think like what Alex said was just key. Like he absorbed a lot of pressure and he was able to handle it to like the best of his ability, and being a rookie to the LCS, like I think he performed well above expectations. I think like originally I had C9 lower, but after seeing like this first week, they definitely deserved the second spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And when Sven Skaren, if you've seen some interviews and just him talking about the transition from TSM to Cloud9 as well, he's just a lot happier. He's a lot happier. He likes the atmosphere. I think Cloud9 has a really good atmosphere. And it sounds like TSM might not have such a great atmosphere. So with that, our actual third place spot is TSM. Why is TSM not first on our list, guys?
Well, I could tell you a million reasons why. I'm a TSM fan. I mean, I've made that clear before, but I think something that not necessarily the other teams have, and you guys might disagree with me, but like in terms of like the atmosphere, it's like they're always the team that you expect to make it to finals. You're expected to make it to worlds. Like those high expectations with like Bjergsen, who has been there forever, and like Andy like being like hard on his players, like those expectations are definitely going to be there, right? If you like slip up, if you start 0-2, which there's some they have, but like if you do, some fans are going to have like like signals and like setting stuff on fire. Like the end is near, right?
Upon us.
Yeah.
I think Mike Young actually saw that a lot on the social media. I think it was an interview with Travis where he's like, "Yeah, you are really in the spotlight as a TSM player, and you just get you get a lot of the hate if you're doing poorly." So that's unfortunate for him.
Which to me is unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I just happen to be one of the fans of like some of the most obnoxious teams in all types of sports. I'm a Yankee fan.
Oh, jeez.
I'm a Patriots fan. I'm a TSM fan. So it's just like every fandom I follow is just like, yeah, they're super obnoxious. They don't have like a brain. And it's like, I'm like, guys, please calm down. They're like, no, you know, like, so there's things that need to be fixed. It is just the first week. I mean, these are like for me and you, Sam, like we did have them third. I know, Rhino, you had them lower, and you can give like your little expectation for that. Yeah, much lower. I still have faith in the team. I think it shouldn't be a surprise to many that they're just going to be like slow starting off. But yeah, Rhino, like what were your?
So I think that I guess the best explanation is that like NA and EU have different metas and different playstyles for a reason. And for you to just think that you could pick up the bot lane and put it in a team and it would just work, doesn't matter how good they were. I just don't see that happening within the first week, within the first 4 weeks. I don't see that happening. Maybe they'll pick it up later as it gets to the end of the split. But I mean, as of right now, I think that like with the mitigated losses, like they're just going to lose too much to be able to get to where they're going. And like I was saying before, like whenever TSM ever had like a really slow start, it's really, they've always depended on like Bjergsen to sort of like hard carry mid lane and then just like win through mid lane, and then he can roam around the map, whatever else, and like really exert why he's like considered one of the best mid laners in North America and the best mid laners in history. But I think because of the increased talent with like Power of Evil, Febivin, like the mid lane pool is like looks really good this year. So I don't see how he's gonna like I don't see how he's gonna hard carry with that anymore. I don't think you have that like Kufare card where you're just gonna be able to get right ahead of the pack with just winning through Bjergsen. I don't think that's gonna happen.
So wait, you're telling me that what is it? 4-time MVP? Is it 4 or 5? Is it? I think it's 4, right? 4-time MVP can't carry team solo mid. You don't think so?
Most certainly cannot. I don't think so. I had them place 7th in my list, and you have them 3rd overall.
Yeah, so you don't even think they're going to hit playoffs?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I mean, I had them at 5th even before first week, and first week just solidified how I felt about the team. I don't see how they're going to win. Okay. I feel so scatterbrained.
After that clinic, I would be too.
Exactly.
So what about this? I mean, the reason why most power rankings, at least before week 1, we are doing this after week 1, so we have a little bit more insight, which might be false security. I don't know. We don't know yet. It's also best of ones. But for the most part, everyone had TSM 1 or 2, right? Because TSM always pulls it out, and you have a lineup of superstars. You have the best NA native top laner and probably one of the best NA top laners. You have Bjergsen, who is amazing as well. At least that's what everyone thinks except Rhino. You have possibly the best bot lane in the West. And then Mike Young is the big question. It seemed like he was a big question mark. And I think after week 1, it was a huge question mark with especially their drafting choices. TSM still looks like a really scary roster, just like Team Liquid looks like.
Yeah, I think like it takes time. I think they've been practicing like 2-3 weeks. You know, that's not an excuse. I mean, most of these teams have. Aside from like Team Liquid, I know boot camped in Korea and like FlyQuest did as well. I'm pretty sure they did like a small boot camp, but like the team didn't. And I feel like a common scapegoat is just always drafts. Like, yeah, like they weren't great, but like they had a plan. They just didn't execute it. Like the players just weren't there, right? Like Mithy, who's known as like a genius, because he is. He's a goddamn genius. He was just out of position both games, like all the time, was getting caught. Like he even tweeted out, he's like, sorry guys, I actually played like shit. You know, like it was evident that they're just not clicking right now.
Gotcha.
It is week one. Like I don't think the panic button you hit, like, unless you see them go 0-8. That's when you're like, okay, yeah, maybe this isn't even just a year. Maybe NA is just, I don't know anymore, right? So I think like, I mean, what seems like with history, right? You usually always see them on top, even if they don't necessarily win. You always see them on top. So it's like, it's just a shift. I think the competition. I mean, power rankings were hard for the majority of us, if not all of us. At least for like some of the middle of the pack teams, because it's just so close, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with like what Alex was saying. It's like, yeah, Bjergsen was most of the time like always top 2 mid laner without necessarily even having to perform like and do crazy outplays, right? He's been more of a passive mid laner as the years have gone by. He's not like necessarily going crazy. He proved himself in the 1v1 like in All Stars, but like at the same time, it's not necessarily like he's doing that in games, right? And he's not picking champions to necessarily do that. Like you're not going to do that with a Xerath, right? Yeah. So I think that kind of like is the reason why third is as high as they go right now.
Yeah, as long as Bjergsen doesn't keep playing Karma mid or anything, I don't want to see that.
Hell no, dude! You got to pull out the Lulu at this point.
It's a safety meta, right? Like, I mean, look at bot lane, fleet footwork, Targons with overshield. Like, it's literally the safest as you can be. That's like the mentality that everybody's trying to play, especially like exploring the new runes and whatever else. But that just doesn't fit Bjergsen's play style, right? Yeah. Like he can't be like the Rock. He can't be like a Huhi. He can't just absorb the pressure. He needs to be the pressure. So if he's not,
and I also think a lot of people were blaming the losses on him. I think it's completely unwarranted. It was just like it's the entire team. Bjergsen
it's always
at no
the whole
point,
team.
like Bjergsen, but what I'm saying is like Bjergsen at no point actually just straight up lost them the game.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and people were saying that. I was like, hold on now. Like, hold on. Like, I love Bjerg, you know, and I think like you know how competitive he is. So you could just imagine how pissed off he was after this weekend.
Yeah.
You know, I think everyone was like, that team is set to like go to the top, right?
Yeah.
And starting 0-2 is just not what they wanted. I mean, Song had been saying that it's like, don't worry, we'll do well internationally as well. Like, no one is living up to their expectations. So I think it's like, I think that was like my main concern with Team Liquid. And they just didn't show that yet, right?
Yeah.
Team Liquid has like the biggest drop off out of any of the teams because they're expected at first or second.
Yeah.
And if they start underperforming, that team fails hard.
Yeah.
Right? Like the pressure starts mounting. That's what's happening to TSM right now because they had that as soon as their roster was released.
Yeah.
You know, so I think like it's no time to panic, but it's under like I understand it. They could be lower in the rankings. I could totally see that, you know, and again, this is me speaking as a TSM fan. I could see that. I have faith that it won't be like that, but you know, I think the teams below them, which we should talk about the team right below them because they were tied third and the average. This is another team I want them to win like so badly because this team looks fucking sick. I love it. And that's Echo Fox.
Yeah. So it's funny how this worked out. We had a tie for third place. So that's TSM and Echo Fox. Echo Fox had an awesome showing. They went 2-0. Huni is back. Everyone loves Huni in North. Actually, probably globally, everyone loves Huni.
Oh, yeah.
Hold dude.
Yeah. And then there's Dardoch and everyone's like, oh, what's going to happen? And Dardoch pulls it off and it's like, whoa, what's going to happen here? Like, is this a redemption story? We have Echo Fox at third as a group. That's crazy, right?
Yeah. I think,
yeah.
I mean, again, you could argue, we could put them in an actual third, TSM in fourth, you know, give or take. They're tied in the overall system. This team is just awesome. I love that the first game that Huni played, he actually played Lucian top.
Yeah, such a meme, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Like that. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are rooting for Echo Fox to go out the top, and these next, like including TSM, and these next probably like 3 or 4, like these are just I think the middle of the pack has never been so close. Like it's like almost not the middle. It's like the tie for third. I think any of these next teams could potentially be third or fourth place. So this is crazy. They also could be first. Who knows how hype Team Liquid and Cloud9 are, but they do have potential weaknesses. But Echo Fox, for me, I actually put them lower than all the rest of you. I put them at 6 on my personal ranking, where you guys put them in third and fourth. And I think the big question mark for me is that there's so much hype behind them that everyone's really very excited, but I think everyone's kind of ignoring the fact that they have Phoenix, who probably isn't a great mid laner now that we have such a crazy mid lane pool, and the question mark about Dardoch, because yes, it's easy to be happy and go lucky when you're winning. What happens when Dardoch disagrees with Huni, something like really strongly with Huni or Phoenix, when you've seen Phoenix and like Breaking Point having like a really shut off mentality when like he just didn't want to deal with stuff. Like it was him and Mark Z that had that huge argument where like Phoenix was basically just covering up his ears, right? That was Phoenix, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not 100%.
But yeah, so I think there's so much.
It's either Phoenix or Piglet. One of the two.
I'm glad Piglet is. Oh my gosh. But hell yeah, no. I think they have a crazy potential of exploding, and I think that's going to cost them some games where they kind of give up a little too easily. And I think that's why they're going to end up 6. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that, countering that though, I think what's the best way to like maybe to put somebody down a few notches that think that they're maybe better than they really are or strive to improve? You put them with somebody that went to like world finals the year before. You know what I mean? Like how can you,
and has gone before, right?
Yeah.
As the semis,
so how can you flame somebody or like flame in quotations for somebody that is technically performed better than you on an international stage, went to play in Korea, performed well in Korea, and now is coming back. Like I feel like
played for one of the biggest dynasties in esports.
Exactly.
Right. Definitely in League of Legends.
Yeah. I mean, well, you can say the same about Piglet, but the problem is I think it's a mentality thing. Like Piglet doesn't have the mentality that Huni does, whereas Huni's like, I'm just gonna smash whoever comes top lane. Doesn't matter. Like I'll play whatever the hell I want to. I have like all these counter picks that nobody has even thought of yet that I know I can perform well and I'm all practiced on. And then Piglet's like, give me the farm because I'm the world champion.
And he's washed up.
Yeah, and he's washed up.
Yeah, I mean, Piglet, Piglet got to 1 Worlds in season 3, was it?
Yeah,
season 3.
Huni was just a finalist at Worlds last season. Like, it's a totally different story. Even when Dardoch was with Piglet back in season 5, I think or something like that.
They did interview him after the second win. So I know they 100% interviewed Huni after the first win.
You said
but okay. I'm saying for the second win, they interviewed Dardoch and they asked them, you're known to flame. You know, you busted out of like 4 other teams. What makes a difference? That was his response. His response is, well, you know, it's different when you play with a world finalist, which a shot at Piglet, by the way, because he had played with the world's winner. So, you know, but at the same time, I think Dardoch has realized that this is his last shot. Same with Adrian. I know that Adrian isn't talked much about as Dardoch, but Adrian has gone, I think, to 2 more teams than Dardoch has in the same time span.
Yeah.
Like, there are 2 players that just bounce around because they just don't fit.
Yeah.
I think this team, like Rick Fox, I mean, we talked about it, right? Rick Fox has like this positivity. He's the type of person that's like, don't worry, guys. You know, like he has that like champions mentality because he has been a champion, right?
Yeah.
I think them starting from scratch this year after ensuring franchising is amazing, right? Because it shows that they either want to work, like they want to work with these guys for long term, right? It's not like, oh, we might fail. And it went well. I mean, Huni is to me the number 1 top laner in NA. Like, I think he has the skill set, right? And I mean, he has the confidence, but he's also more humble in the sense of like, he understands like what are things that he shouldn't do, right? Like, what are the things that he can mess up in? And he played a crazy week 1.
Yeah.
Again, like
Yeah,
very first game, we already see the Lucian. We're like, what the hell? And
So
like,
spicy.
It's like, yeah, you know, I tell people Lucian is good, and Koma did not believe me.
Koma did not believe me.
It was funny, you know, because like the aspiration for this team is they want to finish first. I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah.
could say that about every team, but this team wants to finish first. Like Huni said that one of the last things he told Koma was that we are going to MSI and I am going to beat you with my team.
Oh, nice.
Like he actually said that because Koma was like always like, you know, after they were known that he wasn't going to be part of SKT, like Koma was actually still around, like talking to him and making sure like he was all set.
Uh-huh.
And he told them, it's like, I want to meet you at MSI and I want to beat you. That way the other players that have replaced me can understand what I felt whenever we lost. Right.
Uh-huh.
And that's like the mentality he has. So
Yeah.
world-class player. I mean,
Oh yeah.
fan favorite. Like, I don't think there's a person in the world that hates Huni.
No.
If you do, you're either A, racist, or B, just, I don't know what's wrong with
Or just on the opposite team.
yeah, exactly. Opposite team. You're just on the losing
Like
team.
even then, like, you know, like I think Huni's such a great personality. Even when he was like smashing into Mornos, like it was
He is
like,
such a good personality.
you know, like he's such a happy person, like, you know, and he's come to like help this team.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah,
He
for sure.
didn't go to a top team. Imagine instead of Impact, you get Huni. Right.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, I think Team Liquid wins worlds right on the spot with that. But I mean, he went to a team that has not been proven. I think we can all agree on this Echo Fox iteration
Mhm.
makes playoffs for the first time in their history.
Yeah.
Like I think we can agree on that because
Oh, yeah.
we all have them within the, unless they absolutely blow up, and
I'd
that comes with like Dardoch and Adrian.
I don't think they explode though. I mean, like you have to think
Right.
like back to like the pressure argument, right? Like having to deal with like being expected to be the number one team, right? Like who's expected to be more number one than Huni when he was on SKT? Like think about that for a second. Like you think that like TSM
Smeb.
has a lot of pressure. Like Huni had to have a
yeah.
whole bunch of pressure for first off being a great personality and then going to SKT, right? I know that's the first thing I looked at.
People blamed him for their loss.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
When
So like
he
if
was
there's
one of
anybody
like their best performing players anyway.
Yeah, well, it's like
So
if
it's
there's
like-
anybody to learn how to like compensate for that pressure, it's got to be Huni.
Yeah, he
It's
deals
gotta
with it
be.
well.
He's had the most spotlight. Yeah, so like it's got to be the most spotlight. Like so, I think it's more of like that could be like a really good teacher moment for Dardoch and Adrian. I think.
Mhm.
I think that's
Yeah.
like the intention is to have like a real like world class winner, put him on the roster with two people that may have like some issues with like either confidence or flaming, whatever it may be, but like put it on a team with somebody that's world class and that can show you how to deal with that kind of pressure. And I think that in that case, you're gonna have the pressure that's gonna make diamonds instead of Rebel. So
Cool.
I could agree with that.
All right. So that's Echo Fox. Moving to our 5th place spot, we have 100 Thieves. What's up with 100 Thieves? Why are they so high on this list?
the Afromu show.
All right, next. No, I was kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, next one.
I mean, I do think like I want to apologize to you, Afromu. You never even heard my original predictions, and I can respect that. You don't know who I am yet, but yet. I think I was scared because, like, yeah, his mechanics aren't the best, but it's like it was one of those things where it's like, will he mesh well with the team, and will his shot calling be enough of a difference to push his team
Mhm.
ahead? Right.
Mhm.
The answer is absolutely yes. Like some of the shot calling that they were able to show, like in some of the moments where like people are like, oh yeah, the team might have been talking about this. You hear Afromu. The only way they can seal this Baron is if Shogath flashes over. Stop attacking it. Shogath flashed over. Finish the Baron. I'm knocking him up. He can no longer like eat it.
Mhm.
It's like you think as a team they're doing this, but Afromu's making sure everyone knows. Like
Mhm.
he was kind of like the glue, right?
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, Cody-san performed well,
Mhm.
right? I think he can learn a lot from Afro. Obviously, I mean, you have one of the best knowledge known players in your team. You're gonna learn, right?
Yeah.
And I think like
Yeah.
my big question mark was just Meteos and Ryu. aside from that, it was Meteos and Ryu. And like Meteos had like some plays that I was like, they could have been better. And Ryu had some like times where I was like, okay, like, you know, it could have been better. But I think they're still like strong, and you know, them two have played like very little. But I think with Prolly, that team also just goes up one step.
Yeah. So I think that it's also good to also realize, I think that maybe Meteos isn't like what you think of like hard carry jungler, like number one in the league or anything like that. Something that I like used to always commend him for when he was on like Cloud9 and P1 and stuff like that was that he like fed everybody information. Whatever he saw, he was really good at communication and comms. So I think like if you could have a mastermind that could formulate the plot and the person that can give him all the information for the data, then I think that's just going to make an unstoppable like macro team force.
Yeah.
So I think that was sort of the intention when you added Meteos to the roster with Afromoose. Yeah. It was like Cody Sun and Ryu were actually like the two question marks for me. Sunday's just a beast. I mean, like you have to put him top lane if he's available.
You don't. I don't think like I don't think in anyone's mind like Sunday's a question. That's why I didn't even mention him. I'm like, yeah, dude, he's top 3, top 4 at the worst. Like he's just a solid like he's top so laner.
Good, yeah, but I think that from like Ryu and Cody Sun perspective, like I feel like it was like the stipulation where they figured out that Afromu and Meteos, if you put them together, they make like a great combo. And then they sort of said, we'll get you, like, we want you on the team, but each of you have to pick one person to bring with you. And Meteos just said Ryu, and Afromu said Cody Sun. That's what I feel like would happen. I mean, like, I don't think that Ryu he's underperformed, obviously, but I don't think he's, like I said, especially with this mid lane pool, I feel like you can go something a little bit bigger, especially if you're using an import slot on Ryu. I feel like you could have gone with something a lot bigger.
Yeah.
A lot flashier. Like, think about, like, what if they, like, bought Mickey off of TL? What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that roster jumps up, like, a whole bunch, right? Yeah. And then the same thing with, like, Cody Sun. Like, I can think of a few other, like, native AD carries that would do better.
Yeah,
Cody Sun.
So this is really interesting because those are people, like you mentioned, they're kind of brought along by other players and stuff. And I think that also gives like a little strength. And that's something that we probably don't know behind the scenes as just like spectators. You know, there's a ton of stuff that goes behind the scenes that you don't know. Like you might be like, who is Someday? He was on a crappy team. He didn't do well. Well, that's because you don't know that Dignitas was a bad team and he wasn't able to do what he does. And who knows what the coaching did to him and stuff like all these things behind the scene. Someday is now released and we saw it in week 1, which is amazing. When we talk about Ryu and Cody Sun, you know, Afromu wanted Cody Sun, so there's something there. And what is it? Score Esports podcast recently did an interview with Afromu, and Afromu like really likes Cody Sun. He likes his personality, super teachable, and Afromu's like teaching him how to be more aggressive. And you actually find out that Cody Sun is getting more confident in making actually like really bold calls, which is really cool to see from an 80 carry, you know?
Yeah.
I hope to see more flashes into 3 people out with the world stage from Cody Sun. I think that's the confidence he needs. To be fair, to just a side note, people like criticize the crap out of him. I saw what he was going for, and he was actually going to be able to kill their mid laner, but she still had Sarah's embrace. It all failed, and if he would have been able to kill her, they wouldn't have ended the game.
Sure.
So I saw where he was going from, but
and then
I think it's also really comparable. Sorry, excuse me.
Go ahead.
My bad. I was gonna say something that's also really comparable is that, like, if you're familiar with, you know, Nate Shot's the CEO, owner, whatever you want to call it, for 100 Thieves. I used to watch Nate Shot all the time when he competed actually with Optic Gaming's like Call of Duty team. Like Nate Shot was not the best Call of Duty player, but he really had like a huge belief in when it came to if you're comfortable with the people that you're playing with and you're friends with them, or like you're comfortable being around them, you can create the proper environment. He thought that environment beats skill any day, because skill can be developed. Environment's usually hard to nurture properly. Yeah. So if you can get something that's natural, you can build up to being like a world-class team.
That's like old C9.
Mentality. Yeah,
like
I know that mentality went into the same workings here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, I mean, like I said, he wasn't the best Call of Duty player. He wasn't the best on the team. But if you surround yourself with people that are either better than you or people that you're really comfortable with, and you get like that perfect formula, I think that's what 100 Thieves is really going for. And I think probably would get behind that for sure.
Probably get it behind it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So in the next spot, in the 6th place, we have CLG, which might be lower than a lot of people expected, but luckily we get a cheat and see week 1. But are we reacting too quickly that CLG is not at the top like 4?
No.
All right.
hard. No, I'm sorry.
Why is that?
So to be fair, after looking at it, like my power rankings after submitting them, I feel like it could even go lower, especially after we talked for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They're the team of faith, right? You know that they are. Like you say faith. That's CLG in a nutshell. Darshan just, oh man, you know, you ask yourself, like, how many top laners in the league right now? What would they have done with the lead that he got game 1? Yes, you're against C9, which ends up towards the end of the game team fighting. You have Sneaky, who's one of the most consistent like ADCs in the league. You have Jensen, who is again 1 or 2 of the best mid laners, you know, in the league. You have like all these tools that like you wanted to get like the top lane matchup fixed, and it still wasn't. There, you have an issue. Rainover showed some promise, but it was kind of like TL Rainover. It was like literally he seems bipolar at this point. It's like, oh, Fnatic Rainover. Oh, TL Rainover. Oh, what the hell? Who is he? I don't know. It's like, oh, you guessed it. It's COG Rainover. You know, like I don't know. It's a shit show at this point.
Yeah.
I think Huhi might be like their saving grace in terms of just everything. But then Stixxay, who's supposed to be the one you're relying on for consistency, is just not. And I think this has been going on for a year now. So I think a lot of the issues that we saw last year of them not making worlds and being a surprise to many is just like the same thing over.
I think they did a lateral move in the jungle. Everybody praises Rainover for what he was before. I don't think he has anything else besides knowing how to play topside. And if you have a weaker in the league NA talent for top lane that you can't actually play around, like, sure, he was really good exerting pressure on red side, but like, again, all he would do is play top side. Like, sure, he pushed Sven off of his red buff like twice, right? But what are you going to do with that? If you don't have confidence that your top laner is going to be able to like push that lead and you're going to be able to push on throughout, that's why Rainover succeeded so much, at least in my opinion, succeeded so much in, you know, Fnatic and Immortals for the first split, stuff like that. So I think he's missing a lot of that. He doesn't really have confidence to be able to play around elsewhere on the map. He doesn't have confidence in his solo lanes yet, or his or bot lane. So I don't see him performing well enough. I think honestly that TL time really actually was detrimental to his confidence. I don't see how he performs now. Because I mean, think about it. Your duo goes to SKT and goes to World Finals, and you fight relegation in North America, supposedly like the inferior region. I don't see how that would really destroy me as a person. I know that I would be like, wow, like it must have just been like riding off the back of Huni because I am awful. That's like the mentality that I would probably have.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like, so I was the person that rated CLG the highest at 5th place. And again, as we talk and looking over power rankings and like thinking about it more, like I could place them like 8th, I feel like. And at the same time, before the season started, I was like, top 2, baby. Like they're going to make it. They're going to do something crazy because you see all these names and potential. But I think we pointed out big question marks with Darshan and Stixxay, you know, and even like we didn't talk about Biofrost yet and just all the synergy that's going on with this roster that saw some big changes when it comes to their leadership positions. The biggest rock and the biggest reason why I have faith, I think, on this team is their coach, Zeke Slow. Like he is well known to be one of the best coaches in the league, one of the most hardworking coaches in the league. CLG is known for their level 1 strategies, which everyone thinks is cheesy and all that stuff, but like best of ones, those can win you the game, you know, especially in professional play where like every little gold advantage counts. Like that can win you games and get you high in the standings, but oh my gosh, it is so scary. And as much as I want to like have faith in it, like I feel like my faith is the only reason why CLG is rated so highly on my list, and I want to put them lower compared to the other teams and the excitement that other teams have. So CLG is a tough one.
I mean, it's also sorry about that. That's okay. Like something also I think to consider too is like for Zix, right? Like he was super good in the early stages of League of Legends. Like he was thinking about the game on a different level, right? But now if you look at the support stats, like all the top teams have, like it's just insane. Like the amount of analytics that go in the background, there's no way that somebody can figure out like a new jungle route that not everybody else has already figured out before, or stuff like that, or hasn't practiced in scrims or anything like that. So I think that surprise factor as the game sort of gets like solved, I guess is the way you would use it. As they solve the Rubik's Cube of League of Legends, like once it gets closer, I don't think there's gonna be many more surprises, right? Like
unless Riot moves Sightstone or something crazy like that, right?
Why would they ever do that?
Yeah, no, really good point. Really good point. Manny, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah,
I was just gonna say that like this might be just the year that you rebuild CLG. You had the longest standing roster in NA LCS history, with the same 2 players playing, or the same 5 players playing for 2 years in a row, right? I don't know. I mean, I could see a world where they start working well, but it's just tough. It's just tough. The competition is there. It's not like last year, you know. Maybe you skate by, get 6, and pull off a miraculous like sweep, or you know, like get swept by FlyQuest or something. Not that happened to CLG, of course. That would never happen to them in a best of 3. But I think like that is something that I don't see that this year, right? I mean, we're talking low about TSM and like all their issues. I think they're just even more glaring in CLG, right? Because he's not necessarily. If Bjergsen can't do it, who he can't like also do it. You know what I mean? Like, and then you have like a lower end like top laner. Like, I think they're very similar in nature, like the 2 teams, right? And it's like just they need to start meshing together. And if they are able to do that consistently, maybe they can like actually make it to playoffs. Right now, we have them just barely scraping by, but I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Cool. All right. For the 7th place spot, we have Clutch Gaming. This one caused a lot of havoc between all of us, I think. It's
I'm
all over the board.
The hype man didn't go behind his hype. I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, I changed my power rankings from preseason to postseason a lot, and then I was like looking at it afterwards, like, wait, why are they so low? How can they do this? No, they shouldn't be. Again, I feel like currently, Clutch Gaming makes it into playoffs, and CLG don't. Like that would be my only swap. If I mean, I love this team. I do. I actually do, because it's like they're so fun to watch. They were really fun to watch, you know, which was like a concern for me, like trying to watch all these games, which were like some of the games, yeah, they ended up being like really long. And I was like, oh man, I don't know if like, you know, but my God, like the hype between Lyra, like the Lyra Febiven partnership. I'm sold, dude. Like Febiven played out of his mind in terms of like, in comparison to the past 2 years, he looked like he was an actual mid laner, you know, like he didn't look like you had just grabbed him from solo queue. He looked like he had been looking in 2015 Fnatic, maybe not that high yet, but he is definitely like the same player.
Yeah.
Which you had not been seeing for the past few years. I do have some question marks with the bot lane now, like slightly, but I think they're solid, you know, which you can't say about a lot of the other bot lanes, you know, like aside from like the top 2-3, right? They're solid. They won't lose you the game. They won't necessarily win you the game, but they won't like straight up lose you the game.
I feel like they're just a plug and play. Like they're just like, they can just take them anywhere and just like, oh, well, do you need like a mediocre bot lane? All right, take Apollo and Hakuo.
Yeah,
and
like
that's
won't
not to
win
flame.
you.
That's just to, That's just to say, like, I think they're just they're solid, but they're not like above. Yeah, they're not above anything. I think they're. But I mean, I think this is the first time I've ever seen somebody like put somebody high on a list and then have them go 2-0 in the week and then put them lower on the ranking.
That's how my mind works. I was like, yeah, this makes sense. And then we were talking about it, like, this makes no sense. All right, mind.
There's either 1-1, not 2-0.
Yeah.
But
you're conflicted. You're in pain, Manny. I can tell. But Rhino, what were you gonna say?
But I think the Lyra Febiven shows a real deal. Like, I think Lyra's a next caliber jungler that Febiven was looking for. Like, he had Yankos, but I'm thinking like Lyra, I think, is just mastermind that hasn't been unlocked yet.
Mhm.
I also
Or we've
think
only seen
like you
little
don't.
sparkles of who he is. So I think if Clutch Gaming can figure out how to unlock the potential with Lyra and combine that with already the solid skill that Febiven has, I think you have an unstoppable force. I think that if that team finds its way and Solo doesn't feed and bot lane goes okay, I think that team's top 3 easy. Like they just pub stomp everybody. Like I can see the team beating C9.
I agree because so here's my thing with C9, right? Because in my preseason power rankings, I had them in 4th, C9 and 5th, right?
Yeah.
And people are like, "What? Really? Clutch Gaming?" I'm like, "Yes," because they have the same exact question mark for me, which was their top lane, right?
Mhm.
Solo and Licorice. That's it. That's the question mark. But if Lyra, we know that Lyra has been able to outperform since Garen.
Yeah.
And if Febiven is at a level that he can at least compete with Jensen, and then you have a bot lane that won't feed because you have Lyra that can pull plays out of his ass on Lee Sin, who knows? Honestly, who knows what the highs of this team are? They won't completely stomp the league. I think it's really hard, but in comparison to last year when Lyra, Apollo, and Hakuo, they have a coaching staff, so Lyra can actually focus on himself and not coach the entire team. It's stuff that just it all plays in their favor. They have a tough week. They have a couple tough weeks coming up, but if they can keep going 1-1, maybe they do lose to C9 the first time, but then they beat them. They're a middle pack team, but I think they could just pop off, especially depending on how the meta changes into jungle.
Yeah, I think there's definitely no disagreement between us that Clutch Gaming has so much potential and they can just wreck it. And it's all about their lows, right? And I think another low that we haven't mentioned is a coaching. D-Lim, we don't know much about him. He had time on Team Liquid. Again, with coaching staff, especially us spectators, you don't really know what's going on. Team Liquid was a bad team. Maybe you're making, you're just polishing the turd and trying to make it look better, and you can't do much about it. It's still a turd. We don't know, but D-Lim is not proven yet. And with how we mentioned coaching staff and analytical staff and all this stuff behind the team, that's also a huge question mark when you can't lead a team and you can't get people performing on best of 1 situations where you really need to prep, you really need to be prepared for cheese, you really need to bring your own cheese every now and then, and that's why their floor can be so low for us on this ranking.
I think against any top centric teams they lose, but I think any mid centric or bot centric teams they can actually go pretty even. I think that they'll be contenders, but solo against Toonie, that's scary.
It's really scary. How do you stop the bleeding there? Do you send Lyra to babysit?
You just amputated. Make a new meta. Do
put him on Maokai.
Think about that matchup. So Phoenix, worst comes to worst, Phoenix goes even with Febiven. And then you have Solo. I think the mismatch between Febiven versus Phoenix and Huni and Solo, and then let's call Dardoch and Lyra equivalent, right? Let's call them say they're both top of their game. I say they're pretty equal. I feel the mismatch from top to mid is so much higher that team just I feel that's the kryptonite right there. Echo Fox is the kryptonite to CG, I think.
Yeah,
go ahead. Yes, sorry, go ahead. I was going to say that it's exactly that, right? He can't. We don't know if he can hang against the top player. I mean, didn't they play Echo Fox the second game? So it's we know that he can't necessarily Solo is just not there. Not saying that he can't be. He totally can be, but he's not currently there.
He's a rookie.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you expect? What can you expect? And it's
Licorice did.
Yeah, that diamond in a rough. Again, in best of ones, I feel with the meta that we've seen, top lane is super, super important. And in best of threes, that's how you dealt with top lane. You're just okay, we tried that. Fiora didn't work. Put you on Maokai. We put you on Ornn, some safe champion that won't lose lane hard, where you're just forced to just stay there and force a farm lane where nothing happens. That's how you band-aid the top lane. best of ones, like, and with crazy players like Huni pulling out Lucian, you can't really do that in a best of one unless you both pick like dog champs top lane. Like, it doesn't happen.
You give him Ornn, but then Huni says, "I'm gonna almost flame Horizon you like I did the first week." The same stuff. I mean, I feel like Huni's gonna find a way to win in that matchup. I just think I don't know much about Solo. I know that
there's a reason for that.
I've watched him play a few times just from like other players' streams, but I don't think like he's not like a wow factor for me. So I feel like he's the crutch on that team. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yep. Cool. For sure. All right. So moving to the bottom of the table, 8th place, we have FlyQuest. Why is FlyQuest down here?
There's still unanswered questions with, and I mean, Stunt did okay. Like, you know, Wild Turtle performed really well, in my opinion, at the very least. Like, I think Wild Turtle was like the shining like light. And I mean, currently they don't have their starting mid laner, right?
Yeah.
They have Keen instead. No flame to Keen, but like I feel like this team is completely different with Fly. And them not being able to have Fly, like I think that's just a stunt for them going forward.
Yeah. I feel like it's better to sleep on the team than to not, I think, in this case, because I don't know what the team looks like. I don't know enough about it, right? It's like Stunt, I've seen perform good. I don't think that if Wild Turtle has a carry potential, I don't really see that. I think he's a good AD carry. I don't think he's like top-notch AD carry. But I think the real thing to watch is Flame and Anda, and to see how that duo progresses. I think that's pretty interesting. Like Flame, monster top laner, and Anda, he got top 10 in Korean solo queue in like the first week of being in Korea while boot camping, right?
I mean, Stunt got number 1, I'm pretty sure.
In Korean solo queue?
Yeah.
Really?
When they were there. Him and Ando like had made it to like challenger before their starting squad did.
They killed it.
Like secret OP.
So, no, like legitimately.
Yeah, I mean, week 1 gave me a lot of hope for FlyQuest that they did that well without their starting mid laner. Who knows? Maybe Keen's like a better fit, even though Fly might be a better player. We don't know. There's a lot of question marks. The biggest question mark that keeps them so low for me is that they're just a whole bunch of random players put together. Like, no synergy. We don't know how they're going to work together. It's like if this is a good team, they pop off spring split. Like, we just don't know. Wait, is it spring? Summer split. They pop off summer split. But right now it's just like so random of a team. I guess Anda and Stunt have worked together, but they never played on stage together. They were like the subs for Immortals, right? So wait, was that Stunt? It was Stunt, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're just like, this is a total, there's no synergy starting off with this team. So that's why they're low, but they're not the bottom for me because of that week 1 performance.
Yeah. Also real quick, I just double checked. He was top 25 in Korean solo queue.
Yeah, that's still not bad. As a support main, that's not bad.
So like and just to go along like finishing off like the team, it's just that there's just putting them against other teams. I just see other teams being able to beat them, and I feel like what you were saying, this could just end up being like a reverse FlyQuest from last year. They do like okay, like good enough. They finished like 7th, you know. And then next year they like actually challenged, maybe finish like top 5, can take off like a crazy series off of one of the more of like the lackluster top teams in the region.
Honestly, I think if FlyQuest would have kept high, I think that team would have been nasty. No, seriously, think about it. Like, that's because there's so many question mark talents for me, right? So like, you can solidly like rely on Wild Turtle to do okay, right? So now imagine you have like this volatile mid laner with Stunt and potentially like mechanical gods for getting solo like top in challenger solo queue in like 1 week, and then Flame, who also has like a good name for themselves. Like, I feel like that team's just unstoppable. But I don't know.
Yeah,
but the name synergy not there. Even though it rhymes high and fly, but
fly high, man. Come on.
So speaking of high, we have our 9th place team, the Golden Guardians. Who high is their mid laner on? Why are they? Why are they 9th place?
I think they performed as expected.
They performed like a full NA team. That's what it is.
Aside from like Flame, I mean, I think with Golden Guardians, I think that Lorlo is a lot better than people think. And I think Matt is a lot better than people think. I think they're actually solid choices. But Matt has to play with Deathly. And it's like Matt with Double Lift, he did well, right? Double Lift gave him back a lot of the confidence that like Matt had lost with 3 years of playing with Piglet. You know, like Piglet just drained him. I feel like you kind of have like that same style here because like Deathly's just unproven. He's not bad, but he's just unproven. You know, like he's not going to necessarily win you the game. You know, and they did try. They did try to get outside talent. It just ended up not working out. They didn't pan out for them, you know, like due to contract talks, due to this, due to that. I think they just have an okay team. I mean, contracts is good. High is good.
The high factor is great. The high factor is great. High is good.
Yes. And then I just think like, you know, it's just tough, right?
Yeah, I think this is a team. If it was any other season, like season 4, I'm like, oh, this is like a good team. But just with the competition in NA, it's just really scary. Yeah. All right. So the last place team we have Optic Gaming. Oh boy, Optic Gaming. Is it easy why they're 10th? I think we all put them 10th.
Yeah, that just feels like what's left over. Yeah, let's pick those guys up. That's what the team feels like. No offense, like I love Hex. I love the organization. It's so dear to my heart. This is what's got me into esports, but it felt like they just spent all their money on Power of Evil and Arrow, and they were like, all right, who do we pick up now? Who's got a name? All right, Lemonation, hella washed up, bring him on. I don't care. How about Acadian, sort of like volatile, bring him on. I don't care. And Zig, who's probably potentially like next to Seraph, one of the worst top laners. No claim, but like. He
don't think anyone is as bad as Sarah.
No, but like if you were to give like a litmus test, right? Like you'd have to be better than Ziggs to be in Challenger, or not? I'm sorry, out of Challenger into LCS. I think that's how I would think of Ziggs. Like, did they beat Ziggs? Then they belong in LCS. That's my like. I feel like he's a step up above like if we were to pick balls or something. But I mean, I think Acadian, he showed he was okay. I don't think he's godlike. I don't think he was the first blood king that everybody wanted him to be. I think he's solid. I think Power of Evil is really good. I think Arrow's really good, but I think that potential in Arrow's wasted with Lemonation, in my opinion.
So I agree with all the things you said. I think something that people hadn't noticed, and I could see this team winning, right? I could see this team not finishing 10th. I can see this just for pure mechanical skill. But when Power of Evil was in Origin, 3 years ago. It was 2 years ago in 2016. It was just God. I was like, why did you get this guy? Just put Xpeke back in. This is when Xpeke was already washed up after he made it to semis. You know, he was super washed up. But I was like, and then the team was just performing better. I feel like this is a player similar to Double Lift in the sense of he asks a lot, right? A lot of the resources have to be to him. And if it's not going that way, I could see the team faltering a lot. That as soon as I saw this team, boom, flashbacks to Origin back in the day when they ended up going like 018. I don't think it's as bad as the situation. I think it's a much better team, but I agree. Like, I mean, Acadian, like he's just inconsistent. Like he can have his great moments, you know, he has some plays that you're like, wow, I can't believe he just did that. But like, aside from that, it's just like, oh, okay, it's Acadian. They replaced Acadian last semester, like last split with like just a random, like, you know, like, was it hard? I think it was hard, right? It was hard.
Yeah.
He's now in like one of the academy teams, right? But
yeah,
like, yeah, you could have just tried to get like other names, you know, like Arrow could have played with like Special.
I hate to say that, but it feels like it's just Special would have been so much better. But I just feel like I think support would be a good upgrade over Elimination. Winter, whatever is it? Winter, right? He's on the academy team. Yeah, I think he would be even an upgrade over Elimination. But I mean, like, I just look at the team and I think, like, I look at Power of Evil and Arrow, and I think, wow, that's just wasted potential with the rest of the lineup. I hate to put it that way, and I hate to sound like that because these players are much better than I am and I ever will be. But it's just along the lines of like, it feels like whatever bottom of the barrel. I feel like Optic got last dibs at whatever was left.
Yeah.
Or they just came in low with their offers or something like that and just weren't competitive.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing we can say is Optic is shooting for the long term or something like that, long-term investments. And yeah, I think we kind of said it.
I think they're going for like a personality team rather than like
I think I'll
like
also
a competitive team.
If anything, I would end it with Acadian and Elimination had a perfect game in the Academy League. Maybe that's where they should be. So.
Oh man!
All right, that's with rough. That, I think we've burned everything down. All right, so that is our power ranking for the split. We might do another one maybe halfway through the season, or if some huge changes happen. Again, this is pre-playoff, so this is a regular season power rankings. So we will do another one when playoffs start and stuff like that. And we're excited to see how wrong we'll be, how upside down our power rankings are be, how the meta will change, and substitutions are made. But that is this power ranking at this time before week 2. That is another episode of the Eye of the Watchers podcast, giving you guys all the support and insight you need to get hyped about League of Legends esports. See you next time.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Real quick, if you want to know more about the 10 LCS teams, I suggest checking out our content on the Be a Fan series right over there, where we break down all the teams and why we like each of those. If you like what we're doing, subscribe below and leave a like on the way out. Thanks guys, and see you next time. Bye.